My first deck profile. Red Blue Vegeta takes flight. Hey everybody, welcome back to Capsule Colt. Today I'm doing my very first deck profile. I've put together a list for a Red Blue Vegeta deck because it seems like it'd be the easiest for a new player to pick up. There's not a ton of complicated token mechanics like you see with Chilled or things like that. And there's not a lot of long combos or things like that to remember, as it seems there are with your Cell and Android 17 and 18 decks. So here we go. Now this list is brought to you in part by my friend Josh, who I met through the Dragon Ball scene here in Virginia. He showed me a red Vegeta list, or a red blue Vegeta list that I really liked. And I saw a few other lists floating around TCG Top Tier. Hey to everybody at TCG Top Tier if you're seeing this. I saw those two lists floating around and I decided to put them, kind of make a hybrid, and I put a little bit of my own kind of spin on it as well. So we'll see how that goes. To new players, please do not be afraid to look at deck lists. Ian over at Island Games, who's the owner of that store in Centerville here in Virginia, told me as a new player, it can be really hard to keep up with meta and to keep up with everything like that. So you really need to take a look at lists and see what people are doing. It'll help you learn card interactions. It'll help you see kind of what cards play well with each other and what doesn't a little more quickly, especially when you're jumping into a card game that's already into its second set. It can be a lot to take in. So please, new players, do not be afraid to look and see what people are doing. Don't. Anyway, on to the deck list. Okay, so for our leader, we're running Vegeta. I mean, I said that already, but worth noting. So Vegeta lets us draw a card from our life. So we're essentially dealing a damage to ourselves and adding it to our hand. And that might seem on the surface like a bad idea, but doing it allows us to control when we awaken. And that's going to kind of be part of the engine that makes this deck run, is controlling and getting to our awakening when we want to, rather than when our opponent is beating the crap out of us. So, and Awakened Vegeta can do some very good things when he's comboed with the right cards. We'll get more into that in just a minute. Let's start off talking about our 1-drops. Energy Boosted Majin Buu is a 5k attacker for 1. He'll be right there. 5k for 1, but when you play him, he lets you draw a card. Card draw in Dragon Ball Super is incredibly important. You need to keep cards in your hand, and that's why decks that focus on hand destruction can be so deadly. But we use Majin Buu as a quick way to draw a card. There's never a point in the game where drawing a card is a bad thing, so I run 4 of Majin Buu because I don't see him ever being a dead draw. Senzu Bean is a staple in any deck that runs blue, I think. It's a 1-drop. You get 5k to whatever attacker you play it on. It's actually an active battle card, so you can play it actually during a battle as part of your counter phase, or your combo phase, combo phase. You can play it and give 5k to an attacker, and you get to untap 2 mana. So you're essentially net profiting, or energy, You're essentially net profiting 1 energy and getting a 5k boost that you wouldn't otherwise have gotten. So Senzu Bean's a must-have. Saiyan Kappa is a 4-of we're running. He's only a 5k attacker for 1 mana, but his ability is what really makes the deck kind of get started in the earlier game. At any time when he attacks, you can draw a card from your life. That again plays back into Vegeta's ability as well. We're trying to control when we awaken. You can draw a card from your life, add it to your hand, so it's card draw, which is great. It's lowering our life total so we can awaken when we want to. And he gets an additional 10k attack power and double strike. On a 1-drop, that's crazy. He's super good, 4-of. Next, we've got Vatos' Assistance and Whis' Coercion. They're both essentially the same card in function. Whis' Coercion lets you stop an attack. It's you play it during your negation or your counter phase. It lets you stop an attack dead and untap a mana. For 1 energy. For 1 energy, it's a free counter. Vatos' Assistance is very similar, except it's a red card, and instead of untapping your energy, it allows you to untap a battle card, which battle cards, which are your characters who aren't your leader, they're your allies, they can only be attacked when they're tapped, unless a card says otherwise, like Jiren. So having them untap after stopping an attack means they can't be a target for future attacks, which is really good. We're running 3 of Vatos' Assistance and 4 Reese's Coercion. Next up, we've got Botamo of Universe 6. He's another 1-drop, he's a 5k, and he's got Blocker. I'm only running 3 of him right now, because it's always good to have blockers, but I didn't want him to be a late game dead draw when it could have been something more useful, which is a tactic that we kind of went over in deck building this past Monday at Island Games, so shoutouts to people who are helping me with that. Basically, the concept is you run him just to burn for red energy if you need it, or you can play him as a blocker, because having blockers is super useful. You'll need them. Next up, I'm running 3 Objections. This is another one I opted not to run 4 of, which I originally was going to run 4 Objections in the list, but I decided not to. We are going to run 3 of them, and what it does is it's a 2-drop card, and arguably it's one of the best turn 2 moves a Vegeta can make. You drop it, and it allows you to play another energy for turn. So normally on a turn you can only charge 1 energy, but if you play Objection, you get to charge another. So that is super useful. It allows us to ramp up very quickly for our bigger hitters, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. And it's dead useful, especially in Blue-Red Vegeta. So we're running 3 of those. Next up, we've got Boost Attack Piccolo. This is a 4 of blue card. It costs 2, but we're rarely ever going to play it for that cost, because the whole point of this card is to combo with it. It's a 0-cost combo card, which means you can combo it on an attack or defense for no energy cost, and on the card it actually says plus 0 combo power, but it actually gives you 10k if your life is at 4 or less. Now remember, Saiyan, Kappa, and Vegeta have us pulling from our life pile until we get to 4 so we can awaken, which means by the time we're pulling this card, ideally, or we want to use it, we'll already be at the 4 life required to give us the 10k, and it lets us draw a card as well, so it's an additional 10k combo card and a draw card for free. Super good, 4 of, must have. Another really useful combo card we're running in the deck is Furthering Destruction Champa. He is crazy. He's a 3-drop, which is pretty good, but the reason we want to play him is because when you combo with him, he gives a unit Double Strike and 10k power. So Double Strike says that when you attack a leader with the card that has Double Strike, instead of dealing 1 life damage, you deal 2. So super useful there. And you play him during the combo phase. A quick note about how battle works, for those of you who haven't yet got your hands on some Dragon Ball Super cards. When you declare an attack, and then your opponent has an opportunity to negate the attack. If they don't negate, you then get to play combo cards on your character that's attacking. Then they get to play combo cards to defend. Now, the reason we want Furthering Destruction Champa instead of a card like Encouraging Presence Monaka is because with Monaka you have to play him during your main phase, which telegraphs that that card is going to hit with Double Strike and that your opponent needs to block it. This allows us to wait until they no longer have a chance to negate the attack to then declare an additional 10k power and Double Strike, so we force the opponent to try to play cards out of their hand to try to combo to stop us. We make them respect our attackers. Next up, we've got Assailant Vegeta. He is a 3-drop attacker that's 15k, and he has Critical. So what Critical says is when you attack a leader and deal damage to them, normally the life cards that they take as damage go to their hand. If a card has Critical when they deal damage, those cards get discarded instead, so we prevent our opponent from benefiting in any way from taking damage. So Critical is really good. We're running 4 Assailant Vegetas. Now for our big hitters. These are our like win conditions, or at least my win conditions in this deck. First up of our big hitters, we have Ghost Attack Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. When he comes, he's a 5-drop red battle card. When he comes into play, he plays 3 ghost tokens. If you have 4 or fewer cards in your hand, he and all of his ghost tokens get Double Strike. That's really good, and it combos off another like linchpin combo card we're going to talk about in just a minute. Next up, we've got possibly my favorite card in the entire deck, Miraculous Comeback Ultimate Gohan. We're running 4 of him, and he is super good. He's a 6-drop red card, so he's really beefy, really costly to play. but he has 25k attack power, and when he KOs an enemy battle card, he deals 2 damage to the leader regardless. It's great. Now, the cool thing about this card is if we have 3 or fewer cards in hand, excluding Gohan, his cost is lowered by 4, which makes him a 2-drop 25k attacker with anytime he KOs an opponent's battle card, their leader takes 2 life damage. We start putting double strike on him, start putting scary other effects on him if we can. That card is a monster. So the last of our big hitters is Destructive Champa. We're running 3 of him, and when you play him, he KOs all of your opponent's battle cards with 15k attack power or less, and he has triple strike. He is scary. Alright, so now for kind of the linchpin that makes this whole deck really, really flow in the endgame. This is how we're going to start pumping out our wins, I think. Mindcontrolling Bobbidi. It's another 6-drop card, but with our ramp, we should be able to play it fairly quickly. So Mindcontrolling Bobbidi, when he enters play, he reveals the top 7 cards of your deck. You get to pick 2 of any red battle cards that are in those 7 cards and play them for free immediately. That's so good. You can combo into, if you do it right, like let's say you had the ideal hand set up, you could play Mindcontrolling Bobbidi, you Bobbidi into 2 Super Saiyan Gotenks, then your hand is hopefully fairly low. It probably is if you're in the late game. And if you're at 4 cards or less, that's now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 attackers on the board with 15k power at minimum and double strike. That is a game-ending move. Because then you can just keep swinging out, and you either force your opponent to block everything and combo out with all the cards in their hand, or you hopefully by that point have whittled them down that you can sneak in enough attacks to kill. It's a great card. I love having it in this deck. I can't wait to get some playtesting in with it. So that's my first deck. Have any questions, comments, suggestions? Drop them in the comments below. If you want to keep up with my progress through the game, click the subscribe button down below and ring that bell so you get notifications every time I do cool new stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Capsule Colt.